one podcast, mining the Magic the Gathering community for salt. This is the Howling Salt Mine.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine podcast, the podcast where we delve into those salty mines of the Magic the Gathering community, find the saltiest stories, the saltiest posts, those salty confessionals that we love, put them in our mine cart, and bring them right back up to you, our dear prospectors listening at home. As always, I'm your host, Sam, and I'm joined with my singular co-host, Mike. Say hey, Mike.
Hello.
Hello, indeed.
I've realized at this point that singular almost makes it sound like there isn't another co-host.
Oh, yeah, there is. Tony is like traveling. Yeah. He's doing some shit. The dude lives a busy life,
man.
You know?
He's a busy man. He's
more interesting than us, and that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
That's why we drag him down so much, because it's really just out of envy. But before we step any further, let me just shout out our lovely patrons. Of course, our nice tier patrons, because they are nice.
Nice.
And this week we have Alex Balix, Crean Bean, Prime Speaker Florian, Yafe D. Tudge, Dr. Black, Accidental TPK, Royal Flood, and ZZ. Thanks for the support, guys. But if you're missing a third voice in the mine today, you're in luck, because we are not alone. And you probably know that because you read the title for the podcast today. So that's not really that well hidden, but I like to pretend that it's well hidden as like a bit.
It's a little sneaky part.
Yeah. We are joined today by Veggie Wagon. What's up, Veggie?
Oh, hey. Yeah, it's me, Veggie Wagon, your other singular co-host.
We just have two singular co-hosts today.
Singular and ready to mingular.
Yes.
So folks out there may know you from as the co-host for the Decked Out Commander show. You host that with MTG Nerd Girl, and also all of your awesome short form content. You're doing like skits. You've been doing a lot of like really interesting, niche, crazy rules interactions lately that I've been fucking loving. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention all of the lovely song parodies that you do. As a song parodier myself, game recognized game.
Look, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for that. That's where it all started.
Is that really where it all started?
Yes, that is the first.
What was the first song? What was the first one?
It was a parody of the Fairly Odd Parents theme song.
Hey.
And it was about Niv Mizzet, who was the Fairly Odd Parent.
Fairly Odd Parent. That's good.
He is fairly odd. You got it right.
It was the very first piece of Magic content I ever made, and people were like, "I don't know what he's cooking, but we're on board. Get this man out there." And I was like, "Okay, here we go."
That is amazing. So, how long ago was that? When was like your first parody song that you put out?
Right when quarantine hit for COVID.
Oh, damn.
Because what else was I doing? You know?
Yeah.
I was already doing these things like for my roommates who were just like, okay, yes, we understand you need to express yourself through this quote creative form. Just go ahead, do the thing in front of us. Good, great.
We get it. We're also mostly insufferable singers and theater kids. So
yeah, it's got to get out.
Yes, the phrase I coined with Ian was the failed theater kid to MTG content creator pipeline.
So true, dude. That is so true.
Ripper wants you to find the difference between these two pictures.
Yeah, the Venn diagram's a circle on that one. Wow, that's wild. So early quarantine, you hit your first parody song. Now, I have to ask, were you aware of MTG Remy before you did that?
Nope. I was not aware of any Magic content whatsoever. I did not.
That's awesome.
I did not watch videos. I did not watch streams. I needed a creative outlet. I was writing these things anyway. Magic was the thing that was taking up 95% of my brain.
Yeah. I understand that as well.
And it turns out the only place that you can put any of that stuff easily is TikTok because of the weird music rules.
Oh, yeah. So, that's so true. Yeah,
that was it. And then from people being like, hey, this is cool. Also, here's other content creators. And it's like, oh, this is a thing. Yeah, let me quickly learn who everybody is and what's going on.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's the funniest moment when you're like, I don't know who anyone is. And they're like, you don't know this person? You're like, no.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, not even a little. We still have that with Tony because he is barely on Instagram, isn't on Twitter, and really just like watches a couple streamers and like maybe one or two YouTube channels. Like Mike and I are like in it, and we'll be like, oh man, like this creator just put out something, like this new channel is up and coming. They're like really cool. And he's like, are they like Voxy? Like that's like one person, dude.
I like to think that that's just his comparison for no matter what you bring up.
It like honestly like kind of is.
Yeah, a little bit.
He has like two streamers that he just compares everyone against. He's like, well, what are their numbers compared to like, say Voxy? And I'm like, well, like
I have no idea.
yeah. Also, I have no idea. Well, something that we love to do when we have new friends on the show is to grill them incessantly with questions.
Impossible to answer.
Very challenging. It's really more of an exam than an interview portion. And as we like to say, if you answer a question wrong, we will cut your mic for the remainder of the episode. But you can't leave the Zoom meeting. You have to stay and watch us record.
Oh, I was very excited for a moment because I enjoy the sound of my own voice very much. And I was like, oh, I just get to talk for a while. That's great. You'll ask me a question and I'll go on and on. But now if I get something wrong, I deprive myself, who will listen to this multiple times over after it comes out, of those dulcet tones. Okay.
The stakes have never been higher, actually.
Yeah, right.
No other guest has been concerned on that angle before.
Well, let's jump into this first question here. So we always like to open it up this way, Veggie. And the first question is, how did you get into Magic?
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Really?
Nice. Okay.
Absolutely Yu-Gi-Oh! That is the one word answer, if that is one word.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But
I think it is.
I don't.
It's close, at least. It's hyphenated all the way through,
Hyphenated,
right?
yeah.
So it's got to be one word.
That's legal in code names or something. So
I don't think it's a Scrabble word, though.
No,
so,
it's tough to squeeze a dash in a Scrabble
if you
word.
turn the eyes sideways, then I think that counts.
Yeah.
This is some like really high end cheating in Scrabble. You're like, oh, I got some hyphen tiles. I don't know where they came from.
Oh yeah, I gotta make that. That's the next short video. It's like advanced strats in Scrabble. You can in fact play your eyes sideways as hyphens.
M's or W's.
Whole new set of words unlocked.
So when did you get into Yu-Gi-Oh? When did your Yu-Gi-Oh journey start?
When the show was big,
Nice.
When that's the whole thing. That's probably the entire reason I'm in card games, because this one silly cartoon made it look super flashy and dramatic.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, yes, I'd like that, please. Because you get that same like kid drama, like, I will do this thing. How epic. But you can't get a direct like equivalent to Pokemon. You're not like, all right, let me go out and get a real Pokemon and then I can pretend to do this thing from the show. That takes a little like imagination and
you'd really have to
imagination is
capture
hard.
some animals too, which
that's
is like
just
less
fighting.
cool.
That's just dogfighting or cockfighting.
Right.
Like, both are frowned upon, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like they had this brilliant thing where it was just, we will make this show, and at the same time we will make the game that they play in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. It was like,
it really did.
It's straight into my veins. And so I was playing that. It turns out that that's a terrible card game. Like especially when it first came out. I mean, I haven't played it otherwise. I've only heard, but like the amount of game pieces that were just unplayable.
Oh yeah.
Like completely useless.
Yes. That is what pushed me to Magic, is because there were friends that were showing me this game and it was like, this looks stupid. Where's the TV show? And so I did not play it for a little bit. I'm like, okay, the art's cool, but like, where's it coming from? I have no way to like try to live out my little child dreams that I'm seeing on.
I have to build my own fantasy. I can't just want to be Joey from the show.
The best character, dude. Sorry, Tristan. You weren't not as cool as Joey Wheeler. He was
Oh
the
God,
best.
discount Joey
Yeah.
Wheeler.
How?
Whole
Yeah.
time.
I would hate to be Tristan. He was just like, I guess I have a trench coat. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Maybe like
And that like rhino spike of a hair.
yeah.
I think Tristan literally played one game in that whole series, and it was like a very uneventful episode. He just had like a baby starter deck, and they were all like, "Oh, buddy, come on, man! You don't even have a flaming swordsman in there. Like that's so lame.
Yeah.
Where's your time wizard, dude?" So, what was your first Magic set? Do you remember?
It was Onslaught Block. I don't remember which set specifically, but it was for sure Onslaught Block.
Nice. That definitely predates my relationship with Magic.
It was something. Yeah. So I had these friends that were like, hey, you should try this out. This is great. We were playing this. And I'm like, finally, after Yu-Gi-Oh was just like, I could not play this non-game anymore.
Yeah.
Like, let me try this other non-game. And I got onboarded like the hard way that a lot of people did back in the day, where it's just like, okay, people that know how to play, we're going to play this game with you. Figure it out. The deck that I had was just a friend had bulk bin, and it was like literally one of those giant Tupperware,
Yep.
like under the bed
Yep.
bins,
A roller
Amazing.
band.
loose cards,
Yep.
loose cards. And there's
Hell
just
yeah.
like, yeah, anything in there. And so I tried to build the Yu-Gi-Oh deck that I had been playing with the Magic equivalent cards, which did not work at all. What I realized was I had been playing Yu-Gi-Oh stacks.
Really?
Yes.
Is that a thing?
I don't know if it is now, but when I had stopped playing, I was playing. It was a deck built around this card called Gravity Bind, which was like essentially ensnaring bridge.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then they just had like little unblockable shitters that you would hit with, and then like two other things that was like, hey, whenever you Yu-Gi-Oh tap this, bounce one of their monsters, or destroy one of their monsters. So it's just you just like they could not keep anything on the board, and you just keep dealing one unblockable damage.
Oh, just the hard control deck in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yep.
That's great.
I love
You just
that.
wanted it to be more of a game. You were like,
Exactly.
I'm done. I don't like this stupidity. Makes sense.
Yeah, but I could not find Ensnaring Bridge at that point because it was only in like Exodus or something.
Mhm.
But I was like, okay, this is fine. I see little unblockable creatures. That seems broken.
Mhm.
Great. We're going to take a bunch of those. Oh, there's no way to defend myself here. I can't. I just get run over.
Get hit by a 5/5 and die.
And it was like blue too. It was like, oh, I'm going to pay like 5 mana for this 2/2 unblockable with nothing else. That seems great.
Yeah, that doesn't really pay off in the long run unless you got some other serious shit going on.
Yeah.
So when did you find Commander in your Magic journey? Because that seems to be your bread and butter, both from like a content perspective, but also just what you personally play.
Is that right?
Is that correct? Do you play any
Or
other
is
formats?
Sam just bullshitting here?
Are you secret like vintage junkie that we don't know about?
Have you been in Pro Tours that we don't know about?
Yeah, I've been in all the Pro Tours that you haven't heard about.
Damn.
Yeah.
Don't
I've
even
not missed
fact
a
check
single secret Pro Tour.
that. We'll just take you at your word. That's amazing. It's impressive.
Yeah. I don't know. I did not play a lot of Commander until I was a content creator, to be honest. I had like a core group of friends, like one pod of friends, and would play occasionally when I got together with them. And so I think like the first I got a Commander pre-con like 2017 or something. But still, for the most part, we play just like a lot of kitchen table, like 60 card garbage.
Yeah.
And I never really went to LGSs to play Magic. I just had friends, so like whatever we were playing, that is what I played.
It's the dream right
Yeah.
there.
Right. But then two things changed. One, Arena came out,
Yeah.
and because of Arena, I got to live out all of my little slightly post Yu-Gi-Oh Veggie Wagon boy dreams of like playing these formats competitively, because I'd always like follow the Pro Tour and like, read all the articles and blah.
Yeah.
And like I loved that shit, but like I could never play. I just didn't have the budget to like put decks together.
Yeah. And the time commitment. There's like a different level
Yeah.
of commitment you have to be in it to make the paper work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have one souvenir. I have a ballpoint pen from a junior super series qualifier
That's awesome.
where I registered a deck, and after we played, my opponent asked me if I drafted the deck. It was a constructed format.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no. Had you drafted the deck though? Was that the
Nope.
origins of it?
Nope. I was like, oh, this is it. This is the meta killer.
Yeah.
Like, it's also with the only cards I have, but
conveniently.
this is gonna go the distance.
Yeah. Conveniently, the cards I have really bust up the existing archetypes.
My strongest format, the Magic that I play best, is limited.
Nice.
Yeah,
Found
limited's
it.
fun.
Real talk.
Yeah.
That shit is great. I love limited. What's your favorite limited set?
I really enjoyed March of the Machine minus turn one Ragavan or like Elish Norn.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like playing with garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, limited is the
It is the spot to do
Not
it. It
anymore.
really is.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. So now it's like complicated.
Yeah.
Is that just because of card quality increasing over time? Like limited is getting the power in limited is getting pushed up?
I mean, it's like they started with bonus sheets.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, once in a while, this is cool and this is interesting. And then it was like every set now has a bonus sheet.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then it was play boosters. And so like Thunder Junction is a really good format. It's very fun. It seems to be pretty well balanced, but it's like a new format. It's not what limited was to me.
Yeah, it almost starts to be a little cubier in some ways.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
All the cards in the modern limited set, they just do more. They have more complexity to them. There's more decisions to make on them. Like mechanics like plot and disguise and stuff, they make everything becomes multimodal. There's really like no vanilla creatures that get printed anymore, or even just like pure stat creatures. Like even if they're like good stats, they're just not there. Like everything has an ability of some kind.
That's a bummer, man. I love those big vanilla creatures that have like a whole paragraph of flavor text on them. Those are some of my favorite cards.
Yeah.
Those don't exist.
They don't exist.
There's cards with abilities that are practically flavor text, but they still have an ability on there.
So the next question that we like to ask people, Veggie, is what makes you salty?
I guess like the one that's fresh in my mind is people that don't do their research. Like the content that I do almost daily is about like, hey, here's an interesting rules interaction. Hey, here's a wacky combo. They are things that are on the fringe of like Magic knowledge, whether it's just cards that people haven't seen or like, hey, this is an unintuitive rules interaction, but like it works because I'm telling you how it works.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like Magic is incredible because you can have like limited of I'm gonna run these vanilla creatures into each other, except you can't do that anymore. And then on the other end of it, you can like, hey, here's how far you can get into casting a token out of your library. There is no beneficial reason to do this other than a fascinating like brain and system exercise.
Yeah, you are technically able to, and that makes it interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the onslaught of comments that I get that are just like, that's not how that works. Or like, you're wrong. I'm like, I don't know. Trust the guy that's doing this every day.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
This is my job. I don't know.
Like your intent isn't to
Come
put
on.
out incorrect videos every single day. Like, you know, like there's some reputation, like professional reputation at stake with things like that. Like, I think people can assume that you've done your homework there.
Right.
They can't assume that about us. We get stuff wrong way too regularly for it to be something that's true. But
I do these videos like almost every day, and then I'll go on Decked Out and like play something aggressively wrong.
Oh, man.
Not notice it at all. I'm
exactly.
like,
Yep.
oh, that's not how that goes.
People love that.
Yeah, because normally I will cut that out unless it is like particularly entertaining, because we will just fix it in like at the table. But
Yep.
this one is just like it just worked so perfectly well that I am playing this card very wrong. And then get corrected on it. That like that will all be incorporated in. But it's just like, I guess if any of the people commenting are both watching my stuff and Decked Out, being like, all right, this guy's telling me you can put a token in your library? No. Then that's fair. But I don't think it's those people.
Yeah. It's like the armchair trolls. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a continuity problem. I think it's a people on the internet problem.
Oh man, I feel like that's a common occurrence, even just at the table, where people will be insistent that something works incorrectly. And I think that is always such a bummer. We talk about this a lot because I'm such a stickler for the rules.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where I can be like a buzzkill sometimes. But like, I just really care about like getting things correct. And I'm not afraid to bust open the rules in the middle of a game and take a few minutes to figure it out. So when someone is like dying on a hill that is 100% incorrect, it's just like so infuriating. It's like, please relent. This is not the battle to fight.
Especially with the accessibility of information out there. Like, you can hit gatherer rulings, you can look up the rules, you can ask a judge if you don't want to do either of those things. There's so many solutions available to you.
It's mind-blowing that in a world where sometimes you can just go on Twitter and be like, hello, Mr. Gavin Verhey, how does this specific card work in Magic the Gathering? And he'll just be like, oh, random person that I don't know, this is how it works.
I can't wait to monitor the upticks in mentions of
after this.
I'm so sorry, Gavin.
Everybody.
Sorry, Gavin.
It's my fault.
All 5 of our listeners reaching out.
My pro move is always, if you need the interaction for 2 cards, you Google the 2 card names and you just put Reddit after it. Guaranteed.
Yeah, you will get something.
There are multiple Reddit threads where people are asking that question and getting it answered by a couple people. And you got to sift through the comments a little bit, but you'll find the wisdom out there.
Yeah, like half the time, I'm just like building a deck or something, and I pull up a card on Scryfall. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting note there that clarifies exactly how this works. I'll do a video on that, and then it's like all these people had to do was look at Gather or Scryfall, and there is a note specifically that proves that this works.
Yes,
that's it.
Do you guys know about the website called Let Me Google That For You?
Yeah.
No.
Should be a Let Me Scryfall That For You.
So it's this website that you can, for Veggie doesn't know, for the folks that there may not know, it's this website where you enter in a search term and it will generate a URL, like a custom URL that you can send to somebody. And then if they click on the URL, it'll open up a Google page and have this animation where it types in the search thing and then sends them to the results. So it's basically like the most sarcastic way to be like, just fucking Google it, man. Where you can be like, oh, I found the answer online, and send it to someone and they're like, what is this? And it just Googles it. We need that. Let me Scryfall that for you. And it just, that would be so good.
I kind of love that. And I think somebody out there can make that happen very easily.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Yeah, someone make that happen. You don't even have to credit us. Just let us enjoy it. Actually, credit us. I take it back.
Yeah.
Give us a lot of credit, in fact.
Yeah.
So the last question I have to ask you, Veggie, and this is just a very selfish question. Where does the name Veggie Wagon come from?
I was on a road trip with my father.
Nice.
And a truck passes by with a bunch of vegetables in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's driving. He just looks over and goes, well, that's a Veggie Wagon right there. And keeps driving. And I just go, yep. Wait, no. Hold on. That's not a phrase. That's not a thing that what?
What a great dadism.
Right? It was like such this weird human moment, and I could not get that like out of my brain. And so
it's so pure and good.
Yeah.
That's a Veggie Wagon right there.
Right? The way I always put it is I want to have that same confidence in my nonsense that I can will it into existence even for just a brief moment, like he did in that car. I was like, yeah, Veggie Wagon, yep.
That's amazing.
That's
Oh, I love that, man. There's something about delivering a completely absurd line with a straight face that brings me so much comedic joy. I love that shit, man. What a good dadism. That's a Veggie Wagon right there.
That's a Veggie Wagon right there.
Also, to be clear, it was not a bit. He was not trying to
No,
make a
yeah,
joke.
he was just saying
straight
it
up,
was.
very honestly, like, yes, this is
Just describing what he saw.
That is a Veggie Wagon right there. What a good example of a Veggie Wagon right there.
I've seen a lot of wagons in my day,
Yeah.
and that is a Veggie Wagon. Oh, that's amazing. Well, should we get into some salt, guys? You know, let's we've hung out in the atrium of the mine. Let's get deep in there. Let's hop in the cart and see where these tracks take us, you know?
But Sam, what is salt that we're going to talk about?
That's a great question, Mike. I appreciate you asking. Salt is frustration in the game, as we like to say. It's really an umbrella term. That's kind of how we handle it here in the salt mine. Salt can range from the small grains of salt, which might be, you know, maybe somebody at your table has kind of a weird vibe, but the games are okay, but you're a little on edge from the social interaction. And as more salt appears, as that shaker fills, you might have people really whining when their commander gets removed, whining when you're disrupting whatever their game plan is. Maybe you're getting pub stomped by someone with a Thassa's Oracle deck in a pre-con game, or maybe somebody's throwing cards across the room or getting a little angry or screaming in an LGS.
Or maybe your 5-mana 2/2 unblockable just isn't getting the job done. That's a little bit of salt for you too.
He's got to switch back to Yu-Gi-Oh, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe your grandfather's deck is full of pathetic cards, and you know,
and he's been trapped in the Shadow Realm, and you're like, this actually has a lot on the line.
And he's stuck in a TV or whatever it was. I think he was into television.
Yes.
Oh man, real quick aside. So I was listening to this other podcast all about Yu-Gi-Oh! Did you know that the Shadow Realm was something that was made for the American adaptation of that show?
No.
In the original Japanese, people just died when they lost those games. There wasn't a Shadow Realm. They just became deceased.
Yeah, in the manga, Yugi's just killing people.
Yeah,
like, they're just dying after they lose competitions with him.
They're just dying after the games. Like they're playing for keeps, you know? Oh man. Well, let's get into it, guys. I got some salty stories here, and they're burning a hole in my mine cart.
Let's do it.
The first one that we have here comes to us from our patron, Marcus. Thank you, Marcus, for sending this in. And this post is titled, "There Can Only Be One." And the story goes, "Hey, Salty Salt Boys. I have one here from Spell Table. I was playing this Bladewing the Risen Dragon Reanimator deck that I really loved. He's an expensive commander, but pretty explosive with the right cards. And the idea of playing Dragon Reanimator, aka Dragon Jesus, is badass. Anyway, I entered this lobby with a Chatterfang deck, some random fourth player. Fuck you, fourth player.
Nice.
Marcus, the line is get fucked, fourth player, but I appreciate you riffing on a theme here. And most notably, a Scion of the Dragon player. As we shuffle up, the Scion player notices my commander and says, there's a little parenthetical here. Please imagine everything he says as annoying as possible. Huh. Bladewing is your commander? I guess you could do that. God, I already don't like that tone.
Ew.
I don't like that at all.
I laugh and say, I like him and Rakdos colors for dragons. And he laughs as well and claims as the game starts, well, there can only be one dragon player. I laugh awkwardly and we start the game. As the early turns go on, the Scion player gets to a much quicker start than me, having better ramp and draw colors, and starts hitting me pretty hard with everything he has. Every time crying out, there can only be one. After taking like 16 damage, I say to him, are you really just going to target me down? To which he replies, there can only be one.
Oh, no.
So I hate this guy. The worst part is the other two players clue into what is happening and don't do a damn thing. They just watch this one player all in beat me down to death while building their boards and not attacking him or each other.
Of course.
Eventually, the Scion guy gets a critical mass of dragons and kills me, tapping out and swinging everything out. Every other player is still at 40 life. He laughs and says some stupid shit like, and now there is one. And then And then the fucking Chatterfang player combos off and wins instantly. I leave the lobby during the combo. Soon after, I receive a friend request on Discord from the Scion player. I declined. Fuck that guy. Thanks for the weekly laughs and keep up the good work.
That's amazing.
It's just like a spell table cryptid. You know what I mean? It's just like something you never think that you would see in the wild.
I feel like it does tap into a little bit like what you were talking about, Veggie, of having this like fantasy of being this player in this universe. There's very much something silly about being like, there can only be one, and then really leaning in. This seems like a little, I don't know. Do you guys think this is the appropriate amount to lean into a bit, or is this too far?
It depends on the environment.
Yeah.
I think it is absolutely not the right place to do it in random spell table game.
Yeah. With unknown people.
Right. You know, like I would 100% do that for, say, a gameplay commander show.
Oh yeah.
It's funny as a performance.
Yes. It's not funny as an experience though.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the kind of bit that I would bust out if I was, hanging out with my friends and we happened to play like a mirror match in a casual game.
And not just like a creature type mirror match, you'd have to be playing like the same commander to really land this one.
And usually it's either like you do the bit where you're like, oh, well, we're both playing Gyrid or whatever. We're in an alliance now. Or you're like, we're both playing the same commander. Well, now I have to kill you first. Like, I feel like it's either one or the other where you make like the sneaky alliance where you're like, yeah, Rhino bros, we're both going to make rhinos and we're both going to do our thing. Or you're like, I must destroy you because there can only be one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's also like that's fun. It's not often that you play in a game where you have two of the same commander or, two of the same kind of thing. You're doing this wacky thing because it's fun for everyone. And, clearly that is not the case here.
Yeah. It's true. Once someone is really not resonating with that bit is not worth it to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, Veggie, this as like a piece of entertainment, as like a performance. As soon as somebody is clearly not receptive to the performance, you back down and you pivot, you find a new bit to do. That's just like what you do in content or even just joking around with your friends. If someone's like, hey, that's not really funny, can we stop doing that? You're not like, well, let me double down.
But it is an interesting situation because that after the fact friend request does kind of make it seem like the player thought it was like all in good fun.
Yes.
And thought it was good and like thought it was goofy. So maybe it is a situation you can throw a little bit more righteous indignation at and be like, are you really doing this the whole time? Like, he's going to Chatterfang combo. Like, he's going to do this, like start to redirect to the game a little bit and see if you can evolve beyond the funny, unprompted feud.
Or like try to pivot the bit, be like, oh, well, we're both on dragon decks. Like, let's form an alliance. Like, a dragon player has to win this game, and it's either going to be you or me. So let's team up, take out these, Chatterfang and whatever the fuck that fourth deck was. Let's take those guys out, and then it'll be you and me, and we'll duke it out. The last two dragons standing. Like you could. I feel like you could pivot them.
Exactly. That's still there can only be one. It's just like, let's get them out of the way before we,
Before we mess around.
So I don't play a lot of games on Spell Table with randoms, but I can't say I've really encountered something like this. I've definitely had games where the bit is like someone is trying to focus me down early because my deck seems really powerful. And that can 100% kind of wear out its welcome. Like, I've been in that spot where someone's doing a bit and I'm sort of like, all right, this is funny, but I'm not really having a good time in the game. Like, let's maybe focus elsewhere, Yeah. That can always be some feel bads.
That's like the greater question of like Commander, for the most part, is casual. And so incorporating humor and bits is a thing that will happen. So where, how do you judge generally if a bit is appropriate for a game of Commander?
Yeah. Social awareness is an important part, and it's challenging for people, especially with the extra element of like Spell Table being, an interface. Like, it's the same reason people don't like Zoom and stuff. It's like a little different to try and have that social interaction over this format, especially when you're just seeing hands. You can't even see like facial expressions. But to me, the takeaway in a spell table game is to be a little more cautious with what you're leaning in on, and don't just like assume that people are having a fun time with the stupid there can only be one dragons thing that you're doing. Because like if someone is just being quiet and not saying anything and not engaging in the game very much, it might be because they're just getting pummeled to death by a bunch of dragons and not getting to like play an actual game.
And when you can't see that like body language or someone's face, and you can't like really see that displeasure, you know, that's a hard thing to navigate. You might be like, man, I'm killing it with this bit. These guys are loving it.
2 other players haven't even attacked me yet. This must be funny.
I've been workshopping this. So there can only be one dragon bit for months. I finally got the matchup.
He's like shuffling through note cards. He's like, there can only be one.
It's written on every card.
Like, oh, I'm bombing, just flipping through them. It all says the same thing. Oh, I'm bombing. Oh, man. There is one other salty thing that I want to point out in this story, and it's in that first paragraph where our OP here, our friend Marcus, says, yeah, I'm playing Bladewing the Risen, and the other dragon player says, Bladewing is your commander? I guess you could do that. That is such a fucking judgmental attitude. Like,
especially on Scion of the Dragons, like, come on.
Like, you're playing the most generic dragon deck around, dude, and someone comes with some interesting spice and you're like, I guess you could do that. Like, come on, man. Like maybe this person did have good intent with the bit and was trying to reach out to be friends afterwards, but like that would have put me in a bad mood where I was not receptive to, you know, a long-standing comedic bit over the course of a game, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That like judgmental attitude is just so strange.
And to me, like, I think when I heard that, like, the way it felt to me was like their judgment is like, if you're going to play dragons, like, play the best one.
Yes.
You know, that one is an inferior approach to the dragon strategy.
But that is so true. Like, I feel like when someone brings a weird off-typal commander or off-meta commander or something like that, I'm interested. I'm like, what are you doing with this deck? Especially if they show up with like some pride and they're like, oh man, I've built this thing. This is one of my favorite decks. It's Bladewing the Risen Dragon Reanimator. I'm like, hit me with that spice, man. Let me flip through that thing, you know?
I was thinking about this earlier today, but like with the sheer volume of legendary creatures that are out there getting printed, all of them should be getting used, you know?
Yeah.
People should be building all kinds of different stuff. And if you have this like, just build the best thing attitude, or like build with the obvious choice for your theme, there's just going to be like a million commanders that are never used, and people will all be playing the same, you know, top 100 on EDH and the game won't take advantage of the fact that it continues to provide more options for you. So this is not an attitude it's a little too gatekeepy.
That's 100% it. It's gatekeepy, which is so weird to be gatekeeping like a creature type.
Yep. So what do we think the overall salt rating is on this one?
I'd say this is like a tablespoon of salt for me, or maybe a tablespoon of salt beyond what a recipe would call for. Like, it's not so salty. You kind of walk away maybe with a bad taste in your mouth, but at the same time, you know, it's just one game with a random person online. While spell table games can be a little bit impersonal and a little bit weird sometimes, I also feel like they're kind of easier to shake off versus like a bad social experience in a game that happens in person. I feel like those ones kind of stick with you a lot longer than just a weird spell table game, you know? Like the fact that you can just disconnect at any time is both like a strength and a weakness to spell table. And that this person was like, well, I'm just going to leave while this person's comboing off. It's like, yeah, just get out of there, you know?
Yeah. What do you think, Veggie?
It's like a half packet of soy sauce too much. You know, I understand how we got here. I could give the Scion player like some benefit of doubt.
Yeah.
For like there being some sort of okay intent there where they just like missed social cues. But overall, it's like you started strong with that opening of, judging the deck.
Yeah.
And then missing everything to just lean into a bit that like inherently isn't fun and is only fun if the other person is playing along.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, it's salty. I can understand how it got there, but for sure it is too much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little too much.
I think overall, like the piece that tips it over the edge into the little too much too is that just the overall play experience is really bad in that game.
Yeah.
Like the other two players just kind of sitting back and doing nothing. One player being at 0 and the other 3 players being at 40, unless something really wacky has happened, is pretty much always a bad sign in a game for like not just the actual dynamic, but for the game itself. Like not much interesting happens when one player kills another player all game and then another player combos out. It's like that's just an unsatisfying like narrative experience, I feel like.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, shall we move on to another story here?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So this next one comes to us from the EDH subreddit, and this one comes to us from user Remember the Pogs. So if you are on the EDH subreddit and you see user Remember the Pogs, give them an upvote. You know the drill. Spread that goodwill, as we like to say. And this post is titled "The Wildest Cheating Story You're Ever Going to Hear. How would a judge handle this situation?"
Ever.
Ooh.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Ever? We've heard some. There's always the lap dockside, dude.
Dude,
Yeah.
this one's pretty wild. I did read this one in advance, and I will say just right off the bat, none of us are judges, so we're not gonna have the judge perspective unless you're a secret judge, Veggie.
How do you think he participated in all those pro tours?
That's right.
It was as a judge, as head judge.
I know a lot about the rules, but I do not know a lot about the like protocol for tournament play sort of thing. So
same.
that
Yeah.
I can't help
Like
with. But we'll see.
infractions and stuff. Yeah.
Well, let's jump into it. So the story goes, it's a draft of MKM, Murders at Karlov Manor. The draft goes about normally. I get paired with my first opponent, and keep in mind this is someone I've never seen. It's not a friend or anything. He begins shuffling very weirdly, like holding the cards up to his face while looking at me with weird faces. Like, think Jim Carrey trying to do a magic trick. When he hands the deck back, he attempts to draw for me, drawing me an 8-card hand. I always double count my cards before turning them face up. Then I notice that some of the sleeves in my deck feel off. That's when I notice several cards with my sleeves placed under a deck box on his side of the table. I call a judge and tell them all of this. The judge issues just a warning. And I explain that isn't this 1 count of cheating, 1 deck manipulation, and 2, all of the cards hidden were my lands. Then my opponent tries to tell the judge that I drew 8 cards in my opening hand. So I say infraction number 3 is attempting whatever that is. So I tell the judge / owner of the store that this is clearly someone who intended to cheat and should be banned. The opponent quickly takes all of their cards, including my deck. I tried to stop them, but they were too fast, and runs out of the store, leaving me without a deck and no ability to play Magic for the remainder of the night. The judge just sat there in shock, like, I have no idea what to do with this. So how does a judge proceed with that? What if this happened at a competitive event?
Huh. I mean, in theory, this was a competitive event. If this was at a limited draft, like you paid entry, there's prize support usually. I guess not a competitive level. That is a wild one.
So just to like hash it out so everyone has a clear picture, this opponent is shuffling our poster's deck. Remember the Pogs, they have the deck that they drafted. They're shuffling it for them. During so, they're just like doing a lot of weird things with their face. They deal them an 8-card hand, so breaking a rule there. Then turns out during the shuffling shenanigans had removed their lands and put in other cards in different sleeves into the deck. And then when called out on it, just grabbed everything and skedaddled.
This is like I think you should leave skit. Like that's what this feels like.
Like no, like a prank, dude.
There were sleeves. I never heard of that before. And then just runs. Like, come on. This.
Well, he actually drew an 8-card hand.
Yeah.
You drew that
you
for
drew
me.
it for me.
I don't even know what advice to give with this story. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. Like, what can you do? I don't think judges are equipped to deal with like absolute loose cannons like wild card-esque people that just show up and pull shenanigans, you know?
Yeah. What are the rules for crime in like not the mechanic? Like
yeah, it's not. It's moved beyond a competitive rules enforcement, and it is moved to a like literal rules issue that we have here of theft. It's goofy. It is an interesting problem though, because like if you're in a limited event and someone steals that deck, like you can't just draft it again.
Yeah, you can't redraft.
You can't redraft. So I don't know what you would do.
I feel like you may just get a refund.
Yeah, it's probably just get a refund.
Because now the whole event is down a player as well.
Mhm.
So maybe they give you like a buy round. Oh yeah, I guess 2 technically if you can't scramble together cards, but like yeah, I mean there's really no way for you to like redraft as a single person.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you like just get a sealed deck on the side, which is not the same thing.
Not the same thing. I could see like if it's like, you know, FM or something, like pre-release, them going like, hey, one refund, holy shit, that's crazy. What just happened? We can't have you draft again, but here's a new, it's like sealed pool. If you can put a deck together real quick, then just jump in the next one. It probably sucks for you, but like you get to play Magic and here's some free stuff.
Yeah.
But like at anything more, like, you know, like what if it's like a limited RCQ or something?
Right.
Yeah, right. I know, right? Like if it was a high stakes event, you're just shit out of luck. I just don't think that is something that events are equipped to deal with. Like I don't think that there's a section in the rule book that's like, what if someone does some whack shit? And you're like, well,
the poster here clearly knows like some of the rules, you know, like and not just like the rules of the game, but the rules of like tournament play or organized play, right? They know it's odd to do weird shuffling, like lying to a judge, definitely an infraction. Like they know all these things. So yeah, I just don't know what you would do.
It really does feel like a hidden camera prank, you know?
Right.
Like, is there a creator out there that has like some funny video or something? Like, it is just so absurd. I don't even know how I would react in that situation. Like sometimes you just come across situations in life where you're kind of dumbfounded until it's over and you can sort of recover and collect your thoughts. And this is definitely one of those. It is just insane, man.
Full shaker. I mean, I don't even need to. This would suck. You go to an event, you're all excited, and then not only does your first game get pretty weird, but then you don't have the cards that you wanted to get.
Yeah, you don't get to the second game. Also, how high were the stakes to be cheating at your MKM draft event at your LGS? You know, like that's the other thing that makes me wonder if this was like some hidden camera prank bullshit. Because it's like, what was your plan to, you're taking the lands out of their deck and that's how you were going to win?
Yeah, I don't understand. I wonder if there was like a money card that was one of the 8 cards, like it was 7 lands and like 1 money card or something, and they ran off with it, and they like did the quick maths on the like value proposition and realized that just stealing the mind break trap was worth more than the draft entry.
Right. It's MKM though. Nothing was worth anything in that set.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Did you get like a $10 ley line of the guild pact? Like that's not, they're not running that in the deck. Never mind. He's putting that in their draft deck.
Yeah, it's also so weird to me that like someone would have the opportunity to look through your draft deck while shuffling it.
Yeah.
You know, like that would be the initial red flag to me, was if someone was, I mean, clearly they were doing some weird shit while shuffling, but if they are shuffling in such a way that they can see all the cards in my draft deck and see them enough to pluck out a bunch of the lands, I think I would have called the judge over pretty fast, like, or at least would have just been like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
What are you doing with my deck?
It is always a good reminder to, you know, remember that you're playing with strangers sometimes, and you really need to like watch your belongings, because strangers will steal your belongings sometimes.
That is true.
I'm just like fascinated that also, okay, so they're like, oh, this is something weird with my deck, and then are just able to spot that there is a pile of their cards under the opponent's deck box. Like that's if it's that easy to, the crime is very imperfect. Like cards were
this person is not a master thief. They're drawing a lot of attention to themselves. They're hiding shit in plain sight. And like, did they sleeved up in Dragon Shield mats and they were swapping them with like Dragon Shield glossies? They were like, something feels off here with my cards. These sleeves feel weird. Like, were they katanas in with your Dragon Shields? Like, I can only imagine.
I think they just rolled a fail on their sleight of hand, and then they rolled a crit fail on their negotiation right after.
Yeah, the diplomacy check fucking failed.
The diplomacy check was a crit fail. That went really poorly.
Yeah, I rolled a 1. Okay, so you run.
You pick up yours and the other player's belongings, and you run.
Yeah, you were stricken with the fear condition. You must use all of your available movement to run away from the source of your fear.
We figured it out. I'm glad we made sense of this situation.
Yeah, the judge was really just a spellcaster.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. This is a crazy one. I think that is the wildest cheating story I've ever heard.
Yeah, it is.
I think that does take the cake, Oh, you got something crazier, Mike?
I mean, no, it is wackier than a dockside in your lap.
Dockside in your lap in an online CDH tournament, like, makes sense. That feels like
that's just table stakes.
Yeah,
you understand why they did it.
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah, it's able to be comprehended.
Yeah,
it's true.
This is like truly incomprehensible. Just like I feel like somebody wandered in from the Feywild and was like a nymph. Some skinwalker came in and just like did this and was like, "Is this how humans are supposed to behave?"
Oh yes, Magic the Gathering. I will shuffle this close to my face like all human beings do. And then, all right, we each choose 5 cards out of the opponent's deck to put under our deck box, and now I will draw you 8 cards.
I like that. I feel like we've had some stories in the past of people telling stories of being on like significant amounts of mind-altering substances and attending events, and often those stories go like, "And I performed very well." I feel like this is just the flip side of that story.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. This is like bad trip. You ran screaming into the woods. There's that fascinating article. I forget. I think it was like a Star City Games article about the guy that won, I think it was like won an RCQ on mushrooms or something like that. It's a fascinating read. We'll put a link in the show notes so people can check it out. It's very, very entertaining. I will.
Yes.
It's have you read it, Mike? It's good.
No, I have read it. That's exactly what I'm thinking of, honestly.
It's so funny because like over the course of the tournament, this like rumor goes around. Everyone's like whispering to each other, like, "I think he's on mushrooms or something." And then like, yeah, it turns out. And he wins, and the final picture of him holding the trophy.
Top 8 photo.
Yeah, he just has like a wild look in his eyes. He looks like sweaty and stuff. It's just so good.
I'm pulling the image. I love that image so much.
You just pulled it up? Are you looking at it? I just
pulled the image up. He's so
he's like bugged out.
Everyone else is like looking at the camera and he's looking off to the side like, what is going on?
Yeah. He's like, "Please don't take a photo of me. Please do not."
Right, my soul.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're taking part of my
so
soul.
Good. It's so good.
I mean, question to remember the Pogs, how dilated were this person's pupils?
Yes.
Were they massive? Did a little scrap of paper fall out of their mouth while they were drooling? Man, fucking crazy, dude. Do we even have a salt rating for this one? I feel like the salt rating is like the sound of one hand clapping. It's like, this is so incomprehensible. I can't even fully assign it a rating. Like, I would just be shocked. And then I think in hindsight, I would be incredibly stoked that I had this story to share for the rest of my life. Like, I'd pay $15 to have this story. I'd pay the entry fee to have a crazy story like this.
Yeah. This is like floating in the Dead Sea levels of salt. You're like, you know what? This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
This is more salt than I've ever seen in my life. But you know what? This is kind of neat.
Yeah. This is so weird and different that at least somebody's having an out-of-body experience about it.
Yeah.
I am sorry to this poster that we have no official guidance for what a judge would do on this. That is
Give you a refund.
Probably gonna matter, but yeah, probably give you a refund or some other recompense.
Yeah. Hopefully they gave you a refund or at least like a booster pack to crack or something, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's rip one more. We got one more story here. Let's shake off the salt of that last one and dive into this post. This one comes to us from our buddy Zach, and this post is titled "The Board Wipes of New Capenna." And this one was submitted through our lovely website, thehowlingsaltmine.com or howlingsaltmine.com. Both of those are going to get you there, and that's one of the best places to submit salty stories if you, listener out there, have a salty story that you want us to read on the show. Let's buckle in, because this one's a bit long. This is an epic tale.
Ooh.
Hey guys, new listener here. I've been binging the podcast over the last week or two and wanted to contribute a pinch of my own salt. Sorry if it goes a bit long. I tend to ramble. Well, you're in good company, Zach. I tend to ramble a lot. I edit a lot of it out of the show.
Probably not that, though. That probably stays in.
Yeah, I'll keep that in. My story is almost 2 years old at the time of writing this, taking place at the launch of the Streets of New Capenna Commander decks, so some details are hazy at this point. I had pre-ordered a copy of the Esper deck and had the day off, so my fiance and I decided that we would go pick it up and then just kill time at the mall our LGS is in. I pick it up, and while I'm checking out, the guy at the LGS tells me that if I want, they're hosting a launch party for the decks, and I would get a promo just for playing a single game. Why not? I think to myself foolishly. I'm here already, and I'm itching to try out the new deck. I check in with my fiance, who says that she doesn't want to play a game, but is happy to go check out some other stores for the next hour or so while I give the deck a spin. The game is unmodified Capenna precons only. So I get paired up with another Kamiz Obscura Oculus pilot, that's the Esper deck, who is playing their first game ever of Commander.
Oh.
Yeah, right? Spoiler alert, it's not about them. A mad lad playing Perry the Pulverizer, who is riffle shuffling his unsleeved precon. What a power move, TBA.
That's awesome. That's great.
And the villain of the story, who had Angelo the Painter.
Mm-hmm.
Our game begins, and I'm having a great time. No one's taking it too seriously. We're just joking around as we play through the opening 2 or 3 turns. The Perry player quickly pulls out ahead, arming his commander with a Gavel of the Righteous and taking a hefty chunk out of my life total. Seeing that I'm dead on board by his enormous commander, I politic with the table, and thankfully I managed to convince the Angelo player to remove the threat. Unfortunately, this spells disaster for the Perry player, as he got mana screwed on mana and never quite recovered from that. At this point, it becomes an arms race between me and the Grixis player, and I end up at a point where I can kill the Perry player, but I really need more card draw. So I ask him if it's okay that I don't kill him outright, and instead just use him as a blood bag, keeping him alive so that I can slowly whittle him down with Shadow Mage Infiltrator instead in order to draw cards. I love that phrase, a blood bag.
That's what they call him in Mad Max, right?
Yeah, it is. That is what they call him in Mad Max.
Yep.
That's good. That's a powerful phrase. And it keeps going. I don't want to trap him in a losing game and would have killed him had he asked, but he said, nah, man, do your thing. So I opt to swing everything else at the other 2 players, but the Shadow Mage Infiltrator is going at the Perry player. This definitely hits a nerve with the Angelo player, who says something to the effect of, you'd never survive a GP with this kind of threat assessment. A little weird. A little weird, but whatever. I get it. Salt isn't exactly new to me. On his turn, he drops a copied Hex, functionally wiping the board. Hex destroying 6 things. You copy, you're getting 12. We rebuild over the next 2 turns. He then drops a River's Rebuke, copied. Rinse and repeat for the next 2 hours for a total of 4 board wipes, all while making it clear that he has no intention of letting me specifically have a board state. At this point, most people for the event have finished 2 games. One pod is in their 3rd, and I just want to go home. But I'm too proud to let this guy force me to scoop. Finally, he drops a 5th board wipe by copying a damning verdict out of Perry's graveyard. We resolve death triggers, and he says, this is taking too long, and scoops it up.
What?
I put on a good face, but man, it pissed me the hell off. All that wasted time because of him, and he wants to scoop because it was taking too long? Half the wipes didn't even really do anything, but force us to redeploy our boards and prevent the game from progressing. I ended up winning after grading 3.5 hours, And the other two were great sports in the end. But the On Hello guy spent the next 15 minutes after he scooped it up, bad-mouthing us to anyone who would listen. Thankfully, my fiance, who I had been keeping updated on the side, is even pettier than I am and was totally fine puttering around for 2 more hours if it meant I could beat this guy. I love my LGS. It has some great folk. It's just unfortunate when one person kills the vibe so hard.
Wow.
That's insane.
The twist ending got me.
Yeah.
The twist of scooping.
Yeah.
Like, scooping to your own board wipe is like a level of salt I don't think we've ever had on the show.
Yeah.
And we've read, like 300 salty stories at this point. Like, that's fucking crazy.
Board wiping repeatedly often results in someone scooping, but it has never been the person playing those repeated board wipes.
Yes. Why didn't you just let the other player beat you then?
Right.
If you didn't want to play anymore, and if you were fine just having the game end and scooping anyway, it's just lose by the actual game rules.
Right.
Or copy spells that do progress your board state.
Yeah.
There's no way they had nothing else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They accessed graveyards.
Yeah.
There's no chance.
Somebody has to have a great instant or sorcery in their graveyard that can progress your game plan. That's not a board wipe. Unreal. Do we need to read On Hello? I don't know exactly what it does off the top of my head.
Yeah, I've got it up. So it's a blue, a black, and a red for a legendary creature, Vampire Assassin. It's a 1/3 with Death Touch. And it says the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn has Casualty 2, which allows you to sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater and copy the spell.
Okay, so that's where they're getting all of their copied board wipes.
Yes. And they're targeted board wipes. Like River's Rebuke returns all of one player's non-land permanents to their hand. So normally you're just blowing one player out, which is also the other funny part. Like, it feels like they really only wanted to screw the one player over.
Yeah.
But they were still just copying these things anyway.
Hey, that's free value.
So.
You can't leave that value on the table.
Well, you could not sacrifice 2 powers worth of creatures and then maybe kill everybody a little quicker.
Yeah, have an attacker to attack into that nice open board that you just made.
Yeah, which apparently is relevant.
Yeah, I can't. This game is taking too long. I can't believe you all forced me to copy board wipes. Why can't I keep a board state?
The mental gymnastics for this On Hello player is just like, it's almost admirable if it weren't so salty. It's like, wow, you are so good at separating your actions from the consequences. That is just on another level, man. And what of the new player? The new player playing their first ever game of Commander on the other Esper deck. Like, this poor kid, it's just having the worst game of their life.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What's your take on board wipes in general, Veggie? So Mike is fairly pro board wipe. Historically, I've been anti board wipe. I'm not really into them. I'm warming up to them more and more lately. And then Tony, our co-host who isn't here, is like as anti-board wipe as you could get. He doesn't even put them in his decks.
I take offense at being called pro board wipe.
You love board wipes.
No, I love good, effective, potent game actions. And it just so happens that sometimes board wipes are those. Unfortunately, sometimes they are not also. And this is one of those cases. But yes, Veggie, your thoughts.
Well, I'm pro board wipe. Get your hands off my board wipes.
Which amendment protects our right to board wipe?
The selection of board wipes that are available now in Commander, there are almost always a handful of board wipes that are very beneficial to you. And I think you should be running most of those because that helps you to end the game.
Yeah.
I think fully symmetrical board wipes are not useful because usually you are just spending your own resource to even things out, which is not great. But there are so many that are just like, oh, get rid of all, this type of permanent that you're not using, or that's like, hey, just get rid of your opponent's stuff. without board wipe effects, certain strategies are really favored, and there's not much else that you could have done against them.
Yeah.
And even if you're not playing against those sorts of strategies, usually a good proactive board wipe can win you the game, and relatively quickly.
Yeah, well said. I like to poo-poo on board wipes because often they are dropped somewhat chaotically and just kind of like wipe the board, and that is a huge bummer to me. But I think an asymmetrical board wipe is one of the best things you can do in a game to push forward and like break parity and be like, hey, this game's locked up. I'm gonna weaken everybody a little bit except for me. Or even if it is symmetrical, you're gonna do it in a way where you can push ahead and take advantage of that and then push to a win. But wiping for the sake of just keeping a clear board because you want to, see what your opponent's playmat looks like, that is like just so ridiculous,
Depends on the playmat. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I like effective actions, and this sounds like not an effective way for this player to win the game. In fact, so ineffective that it took them 3 hours to decide that they wanted to surrender instead. 3.5 hours is too long to play a game of Commander. There's a certain point where you need to evaluate if a mediocre experience is a fun time, which it sounds like it's pretty mediocre when playing against this player. So,
oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous. 3.5 hours is like a full game night. Like you could run like 2 to 3 games with your friends in that amount of time. Like
yeah.
I will say in defense of our caller, sometimes when you've invested that time into the game, you've already gotten past the point of like, you know what, we're in this game and like the current experience is not great. I have certainly had those moments where like, okay, but
yeah,
if I beat this player, if I beat the player that is causing this issue, that fixes the and truly does. Like I've come away and like, okay, this person was being a jerk, and so we banded together and ruined their night.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah, it's redemption at that point.
Yeah, and that's why it caught me so off guard when the Shyamalan at the end was like, all right, and then he board wiped and scooped. I'm like, what? No, now you can't even get that.
What a twist.
That's the real move. It was a denial of that satisfaction of actually making the flip of it.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, they did not want to pass out the satisfaction of actually getting attacked out of the game. And the thing that I think is so weird about this, obviously the scoop is wild, but it's like, where was the spite coming from? Like, where did this spite play even come from? It's because you said that you weren't going to knock out another player. Like,
yeah, you're not going to survive a GP like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. We need to address two things here. But what you're already saying, and then the fact that this player is like, yes, your multiplayer threat assessment is not good and would not hold up in a GP.
Yeah, in a 1v1 setting, I'm not going to leave an opponent alive so I can continue to get more value. I'm just going to kill them. Like, what a ridiculous
the math is
thing
drastically different at that point.
Yeah, it's so wild. It's also just so strange to me to be like, two players make a deal that really has not much to do with you. Like, it really doesn't have anything to do with this on hello player. The deal between our OP here and the parry player, like there's nothing directly affecting them other than that player's getting some card advantage. But you could just as easily try to make the same deal and be like, I'm going to attack in on the parry player for value. Or if you really hate the deal, kill the parry player yourself.
Yeah.
And remove the blood bag, cut off the source of the value.
It didn't really sound like much of a deal, too. It's like, I'm going to attack you, but I'm not going to attack you with everything. Is that okay? Like, it seems like they did want to swing more stuff at the other players than the parry. So in a lot of ways, like, their threat assessment is actually very good because they're not dealing damage to the player that's not a threat to them.
Yeah, that's true. I've never had a game really where like two players have an extremely benign deal and I walk away and I'm like, now I have to make it so you never win the game. Like, it's such a leap in logic.
Yeah.
I just feel like this person was a salt lord. They're just being like a douchebag at the LGS,
Yeah.
Well, what do we think the salt rating is on that one?
I don't care what happens in the game. 3.5 hours, I'm salty.
Yeah.
I rarely walk away from a game that long where I'm feeling good. So high salt for me. The GP comment, I'd be thinking up responses for that for like 3 weeks after. That would stick in my brain so deep. I would be like, I'd just be in the shower like, look, fucking GP. Yeah, I bet you never even won a GP. That's what I should have said.
That's like full shaker, but into an open wound. Because like that's for real. Like if I'm in that game, the thing that saves it for me is being able to beat that player.
Yes.
And then being robbed of the only thing that saves the experience for me.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Just brutal.
And also just the extra sprinkle of salt on top where they're like, man, this game's been pretty long.
Yeah, why do you think?
So crazy.
Why do you think it's been long?
Exactly. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Good shit. Good story.
Well, is it that time of the week?
Ooh, Mike, I think it is that time of the week. It's the time of the week that comes every week.
Yeah? Which one?
Usually Tony jumps in there and he's like, every motherfucking week. We got a little thing. It's the time of the week where we say, Mike.
That's also not usually my job.
What's the salty card of the week?
The salty card of the week this week is...
What's this even do? New cards have me confused. I've never seen this card before. They're buffing Morph with Ward. I own too much cardboard. What's this even do?
What's this even do? I didn't see previews. There's another set each month. I tried to catch up and they release a bunch of stuff. What's this even do?
Don't look now, they released another set. It's full of cards that you'll probably forget.
So what's this even do? New cards have me confused. I can't take it anymore. I wish these sets would slow. My bank account says no. What's this even do? Na 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 na. Na 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 na. What's this even do?
That is that is a cover of What's New Scooby-Doo, the theme song to What's New Scooby-Doo, which was written by Simple Plan, and that was requested by our patron Royal Flood. And the folks at home, you have heard a lovely duet version that Veggie and I made together, wrote some lyrics together, and popped in here. It's the collab of the century. The next time we have Veggie on, we'll get MTG Remy on, and then we'll have all three people that make magic parodies on at once.
Get fucked fourth parody song maker.
Yeah, sorry if there's another person. There's another person out there. I'm sorry. You got to work on that branding. But
that was great. That was a good one.
Dude, that What's New Scooby-Doo theme song goes fucking hard.
Right? What a banger. Like
Yeah.
they
did not need to do that.
They don't do it like that anymore.
Also, to get some Markov Manor or Karlov Manor references in there.
Yeah, they're buffing more
Lyrical genius.
You like that?
Yeah, lyrical genius. Impeccable. Keeps it on the mystery theme. I'm impressed. Well, thanks, Sam. Lovely song of the week. The salty card of the week is Darksteel Monolith.
What the fuck is this card?
Exactly. This is an 8 mana artifact with indestructible. Once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a colorless spell you cast from your hand.
Okay. It's coming together.
So, Veggie, does this card make you salty?
Absolutely not. That's cool as hell. Come on. Like, that's negative salt. I will actively play this card more. Like, it's an 8 mana artifact that doesn't do anything by itself, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and it sets up for a very specific strategy that's just cool. Like, okay, sometimes that means that player is going to be able to tap 8 mana for like an Emrakul or something.
Yeah, let's address the elephant in the room. This is an 8 mana any Eldrazi that you want every turn, or a Blightsteel Colossus. Yeah, that's kind of the thematic on it, but definitely. Sam, how about you? Does this one make you salty?
I feel the same way as Veggie. It's 8 mana and it does nothing on its own. Like 8 mana spells usually win the game. For an 8 mana spell to just do nothing and like give you a little bit of value every single turn, that's pretty cool. I mean, I get it. I get the spillover of Eldrazi Salt. People hate Eldrazi. They do not like playing against those decks. Generally speaking, it's like a fairly maligned archetype. I get it. But like this doesn't seem that crazy. I will say I've never really seen this card before. I'm sure I did at the time, but if you will reference the What's New Scooby-Doo cover, we get a lot of sets, folks, and I can't remember every single fucking card. It's like a perfect example of that. But reading it kind of for the first time, or I guess with fresh eyes, once each turn you can pay 0. Not once on your turn, once each turn.
Oh, yeah.
So you get a Vidalcan Orrery, some other flash enabler out there, you're dropping value every single turn. And that honestly makes me just want to build a deck around it.
Right.
Yeah? Like, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned building a deck around it. This had a deck built around it, basically. I mean, this is printed in the Zuladoc Void Gorger precon. So this showed up in, Commander Masters right off the rip and was already in a deck that was built to maximize that effect.
Yeah. How does this card make you feel, Mike? Does this make you salty at all?
No, it does not. I think you guys have nailed like what people don't like about it, though. It drops Eldrazi, which gets a lot of residual hate.
Yeah.
And it is extra tricky to deal with because it's indestructible. And it's one of those cards where when you play it, you do get to get value out of it right away. Like you guys are saying, it doesn't do anything alone, which is true. You need another card. But in the decks that you're going to play this, you're going to have an entire handful of cards that are relevant for this. And so most of those cards are going to cost more than 8 mana. So you're kind of playing it for free in a sense of like, you're playing it as a cheaper spell of a version of another thing that you'd want to play on that turn. And what's really gross for it, for the Zuladoc deck, you play Zuladoc and then colorless spells you cast from your hand with mana value 7 or greater have Cascade. So in this deck, you have Zuladoc out. You play Darksteel Monolith and get 2 Cascade triggers, and then you play your Eldrazi Titan and you get 2 more Cascade triggers. So the problem with this is that it represents 4 Cascade triggers on the turn that you cast it in the deck that it's getting played all the time. So that is the play pattern most people have probably seen this in. Unless people are taking this card and putting it in other decks besides the precon, which they are probably doing if they have a colorless deck. The like standard use case for this is coming in on top of a Zuladoc for like pretty insane value.
I will say it is very fascinating. And I'm not sure if we've even had a salty card like this before that was printed last year and immediately makes it into the top 300 salty cards.
It's true.
Like that really speaks to how many people picked up that Eldrazi precon and ran with it. And the impact that this has had. I think it's pretty cool. And also cheating Eldrazi into play, it's a tale as old as time, man. If you're spending the full mana to cast an Eldrazi, you're a chump and you've made a mistake.
You are cheating. You are cheating and getting the cast trigger, though. A lot of the cheating that you do to get Eldrazi into play doesn't get you the cast trigger. This one does.
Which is huge because so many Eldrazi have like extra effects that trigger off the cast from hand.
Have a good cast trigger, So, part 2 of our game, get your guesses ready for where you think this falls in the top 300 cards, with number 1 being the saltiest card in Magic, number 300 being the 300th saltiest card.
and for reference, Veggie, number 150, which we uncovered earlier this year, is Winota.
So that's that's your middle point there.
Yeah, that's your middle point.
Got going on.
I have a guess.
Yeah, I think I got it.
Hit me with them.
My guess is 277.
Okay.
I think this is low.
And Veggie?
That's very funny because my guess is 280. I also think this is low. I went with 280 because the monolith itself costs 8 and makes your colorless spells cost 0.
Nice. And you get 2 Cascade triggers off of it.
You're right. There we go. There.
Yep.
Well, Sam wins it. It is 33rd.
What?
Yeah.
That's not. There's.
Yes.
It's 33rd?
It's
no
33rd on
fucking way.
here.
God.
Yep. It is saltier than Back to Basics. It is saltier than Embercool: The Promised End. It is saltier than
Oh
what
my
other?
God,
it's
dude.
it's saltier than the Blightsteel Colossus that it is cheating in.
Good God.
I don't often double check Mike's work, but I'm looking at it right now, and that is fucking crazy. Who stuffed the ballot box on this one? This could not be more far off than where it actually is. This is not a salty card. I am shocked.
Something there must be something that we are missing. There's like some combo. There's something that is not just putting Eldrazi or Blightsteel into play. Like that's not possible.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think it's the 4 Cascades and getting a Titan in. That is the meme. It is higher in salt rating than virtually every card that would be reasonable to cast with it. Like, that would benefit from it.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a mistake.
Yes.
I'm gonna like email EDH Rec about this. Like, I think that's wrong. I think they've made a mistake.
Their methodology is
like
erroneous.
Should that be Blightsteel Colossus, maybe? And the cards got swapped?
I don't think so.
Let's dig a little deeper. So, Mike, what is the most common commander that is running this? Is it just Zuladoc?
Yeah, it's Zuladoc. It's in pretty much every Zuladoc deck out there.
How many Zuladoc decks are out there?
10,187. But the thing to keep in mind about that too is like EDH Rec is pulling in deck lists from all kinds of deck building sites and it's aggregating them and crunching numbers on that. But that's not where people have Zuladoc decks. It's not like people are building a Zuladoc list online and then, buying all the singles for it and building it, which is what happens with most commanders. Like there's probably way more of these Zuladoc decks out there in the wild. It's also in like a few hundred decks that are other Titans, each of the Titans.
I'm flabbergasted.
It doesn't really work the best in a deck that is a Titan as a commander. It's not like letting you cheat in those cards since it only lets you cut cost on things from your hand.
I can only imagine that like the pre-con experience, playing all the pre-cons against each other, that this card was just such a standout powerhouse that maybe it like tainted a bunch of people's perspectives on it. But for it to be in the 30s, and I've never even fucking heard of it until today, is so shocking.
And to not have any obvious like negative effect on other players. Usually that's the stuff that pisses people off, right? Stuff that's really messing with their strategy and stuff. This doesn't do that.
Because you made the point about like the pre-con experience. I wonder if we looked at those pre-cons, how many answers there are to this card, because it is indestructible.
Yeah.
And like your typical commander game, I feel like there's somebody that can answer this, but maybe it was just like something that was overlooked in design, where it's just like you don't have an answer to this in these 4 decks. So if you just slam this, great, win the game because nobody can deal with it.
That's a really good point, because there aren't a lot of artifact exile effects. Like those are pretty few and far between. And I don't think that there are many in precons that get printed at all. Usually you just see like creature exile effects. So it probably does hit the board and stick pretty hard. But holy shit, man, I'm just shocked by that. I don't even think I deserve the win. Like,
no one won. No one won.
We both lost.
I think that's an actually like extremely relevant point, though, Veggie. I'm just pulling up the lists right now, actually, and like I've found 2 ways so far in 2 of the decks. So 2 total ways to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm going to find an extra way to deal with it in the sliver precon, maybe 1 or 2. But like, yeah, there are not many things. So I think that's a really good point.
So wild, man. I'm completely shocked by that. I guess you could like bounce it. Maybe there's a bounce removal. Is that what you're seeing in there, Mike?
I'm seeing a couple ways of exiling and one thing that lets you like polymorph. But you don't want to do that in against the
Eldrazi deck.
The Eldrazi deck. Anyway.
Also, though, if you're talking about Guthrie Writes History, excellent spell. What a good time.
I am talking about that. Yeah.
That's the most shocking salty score that we've ever had on this show. I've never felt more
33.
disconnected from it. That's fucking crazy. 33.
What are the kids up to these days? I
I
don't
know.
understand.
Who stuffed the ballot box on this, man?
Well, I'm glad you guys are as shocked as I was, because when you guys were like, yeah, this doesn't make me salty, I was just getting incrementally more excited with everything that came out of your mouth.
Like, I originally wrote 240 and I was like, that's too high. I gotta bring it down more.
Yeah. Well, that wraps it up for the salty card of the week. Thanks for playing.
Well, thanks, Mike. That was a lovely salty card. And Veggie, thanks for hanging out with us in the mine today. We appreciate it, man.
It's nice here.
Yeah, you know, it's a little damp and dank in the mine, but we've got some lights up, like, you know.
Musha has made sure that we've, made some significant improvements compared to what it was initially.
Yeah, we're up to code.
Yeah, we are up to code.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm just a singular co-host, so it's adequate for my needs.
I can't wait for one of our plural co-hosts to come on. We are here.
So, Veggie, if people are craving more of your content, where can they find you?
On the internet, that's where I live. You can find me on most internet places at VeggieWagon, and if I don't come up, then search for at VeggieWagon YEE, because there is an actual Veggie Wagon in like North Carolina or something.
Well, there's a Veggie Wagon for you,
right? There is the only Veggie Wagon right there.
You're right. In North Carolina, on Carolina Beach, it's a gourmet grocery store called the Veggie Wagon.
Now, when you said you were on a road trip with your dad, were you in North Carolina?
We were not. No, we were not.
I feel like a goal of yours should be to take a pilgrimage there and take a bunch of photos.
Absolutely, and then shake them down for that name on Twitter.
Yeah.
Do you guys mind legally changing the name of your business entity for me? So that
can you not post one thing a year, please, like you normally do, so that I can steal this?
Oh man. And then Decked Out content. How often are you guys releasing? And that's on your YouTube channel for Decked Out?
Oh, yes. Decked Out has now gone to weekly live gameplay episodes.
Baby.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know those were live. That's awesome.
They're live. Yes. When you click play on YouTube, we are just sitting in a room waiting for somebody to click play. And
oh, live like in person.
Yes, live in person. And if you look at there's a good handful of Commander shows that are out there, but the number that are live in-person games that are weekly with a rotating group of guests, there's us.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Really,
we have lots of cool people on very, very frequently and work really hard to put out well-produced gameplay episodes every week.
Yeah, it's an awesome channel. I love the stuff that you guys put out. And weekly, that's wild, man. That's so much work. That's very impressive.
Yeah, all thanks to the community,
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll just give a quick shout out to your Instagram and your TikTok. Like, if people should 100% check that out. One of my favorite things that I see for Magic content on Instagram are these rules interaction videos that you have, because they're just so absurd. And some of the things that are possible out there, like, I wouldn't even consider it, and it's just, it's like an achievement to even be able to do that in a game. So check those things out and trust Veggie. He got the rules right. He knows what he's talking about.
Yep. He looked it up. He looked it up before he made the video.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Veggie. This was awesome, man. I love having you on.
It's been a pleasure.
And before we close out the show, we got to shout them out, our Salt Packet Plus tier members. And this week we have Thotimus Prime, Rothbox, Sire Speedy, Bobo Fett, Brandon Mousecop, Chameleon, Brimstone, Captain Cross, Elgo Fogel, Clearbrook, D. Beeson, Gilgamesh, Doug's Dad, Bark Bark, Magic Lilith Rose, Eebs, JS Evolved, Kylock, Pez, Swankub, and Vok. Thank you all for your support. We really, really do appreciate it. And before we dip into the end of our episode here, I just want to mention that we are doing a giveaway right now on our Instagram page. So go to @thehowlingsaltmine over on Instagram and check out our post that we did about the Fibblethip Arty box. So we're working with Gatherer's Tavern, and they make this lovely little deck box, which looks like a cute plush Fibblethip. You might have seen it advertised for the Chicago Magic Con. I think it has been involved in a couple other big events as well, but it's super cute. It's plush. It's very soft and fuzzy. It's got cute little ears and a little cute mouth. It's just kind of this adorable deck box. They sent us one and we all love it. It's got this plush exterior, and then it has like a hard case on the inside that can hold your cards, and it can hold up to a 100 card double sleeved deck or single sleeved with space for tokens and things like that. And you can even remove that inner liner and put in some of the other deck boxes that are on the market too. So it's a really versatile, cool deck box. Comes with a little strap. We love it. If you're looking to have your own and you want to get this cute little guy into your home, check out our post on Instagram. We've got all the instructions there on how to join the giveaway. You just got to like and share the post, fill out a form that we have a link for in our bio, and then follow us and follow the Gatherer's Tavern. Super simple. And we're going to announce the winner for that giveaway on July 5th. So join, and best of luck to you if you do. Now that we have that out of the way, huge thanks to all of the prospectors that tune in to the Howling Salt Mine every single week and hang out with us. If you're looking for more Howling Salt Mine content, you know where to go. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Howling Salt Mine. We have our Extra Salt show on there. It's our once a month extra series that we do, full length episodes. We do Q&A, we do deck techs. We just kind of ramble about whatever we want. We also have our Stray Grain show, which is our short form content. It's all the bits that don't make it into the final cut of the show. Another way that you can support the show is to check out our Bonfire store to pick up some merch. Check out our page on the Jankmath site. They are producing some lovely playmats over there. All of those links are in the show notes below. Another way you can help out the show is to send us your salty stories. You know we need them. We always need them. And we've got a pretty big backlog, so get them in now, because if you're sitting on it, you know, you do not want to just wait for the perfect time. Like, get those in the queue.
Yeah. They're only going to be pushed out longer. We're getting more than 3 a week, you know, sent to us at this point. So the longer you wait, the longer you'll have to wait even more.
Yeah, we cannot read them fast enough. So please just get it in the system, get it in the queue. And you can submit those at our website, which I mentioned earlier, howlingsaltmine.com or thehowlingsaltmine.com, or just email it to us at our Gmail, which is thehowlingsaltmine@gmail.com. Lastly, a great way to support the show is to give us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app of choice. That does a great job to help us stick out in the algorithm, and it suggests us to other people interested in Magic the Gathering on those platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. It's free. It helps us a lot, and it's something anyone can do. And I should mention, if you check out any of Veggie's content, like, comment, and subscribe, because that stuff goes a long way as well. It's really all just pushing the algorithm, and every single one of those things matters so much, and it's free to do. If you want to support a creator, that is the number one thing you can do. And lastly, we shout him out every single episode, our buddy Devin Burnett, for providing us our beautiful podcast art. If you're ever in Asheville, North Carolina, get a tattoo from Devin. He's a really cool guy.
10,000 subscribers are bust. Woo-hoo.
Thanks, Tony. That's when we get matching tattoos. Thanks again, Veggie. One more time, just want to thank you for coming on the show and providing us with your wit and your insight. We appreciate it.
This has been great. Thanks for having me.
And as always, everybody, stay salty, and don't forget to draw an additional card during your draw step.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Trying to get as close as possible. It's like Price is Right rules, but you can go over. So I guess it's not Price is Right.
It's not like Price is Right. It's just guessing.
It's just a guessing game. Whoever is closest. Take a beat and re-say it, and we'll leave the good cut in. And that's pretty much it.
It's easy to let Sam make you sound smarter than you are. I've been taking advantage of that for years.
As the make them sound smarter person for Deck Down, I totally understand. I'm in Premiere. I'm like, oh God, you owe me so much.
Swear as much as you want.
Say whatever you want. Yeah.
Yep. Wiener jokes are welcome. Things like that. However,
I mean,
much you want to
come on.
it.
I do know y'all. So
I can't imagine the show without it.
we can't turn it off, you know. But yeah, it's
funny.
explicit. Oh, I think my cat's gonna break in. You coming in? You breaking in?
She's scrabbling under the door.
Yeah, she's trying. She's trying to get in.
Little rascal.
All right.
Little gremlin.
Yeah, she's a little gremlin.
Let me sound smarter saying that. Yeah, the printing that this is from is a Commander Masters Precon.
Nice. You did it, dude.
Yeah, that was so much better.
So much smarter now.
Never mind. Never mind. Never mind.